Well, it's just about 1 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Krista Reinhardt. I'm the Senior Marketing Coordinator at Vanderbloemen. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Along with me, we have Sutton Turner, our COO at Vanderbloemen. Hello, Sutton. Along
Howdy,
with
howdy.
John Staub. He is from Remodel Health, a strategic partner of ours. We're so happy to have the two of you together today. I think this is the third year y'all have done this together. Awesome. So,
Yep.
Yeah, and
so y'all are
there was
get
a
on.
pandemic in between all of that.
Yes.
That's
True.
right.
So it felt like longer, I'm sure.
That's right. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to welcome everybody for coming and let you know that everybody will be getting a copy of the ebook after this. It will be in your inbox after this webinar. At the end of this, we're going to have Q&A. So if you have any questions throughout this, go ahead, drop those in the chat box so that we can answer those at the end. But without that, I think I'm going to hand it over to you, John, to get us started.
Yeah, thanks. Really excited about this particular ebook. Again, just like Krista said, we are going to make sure that it's in your inbox as soon as this is over, a PDF. We believe in equipping you as best as we possibly can. And when I say we, I know that's me and Sutton, Remodel Health and Vanderbloemen. There's too much to learn to try to keep it to ourselves. So it's yours. You're going to get it after this. So thank you. We are going to make sure and walk through a lot of the stuff of the ebook today. And yeah, really looking forward to this. Sutton, any opening remarks before I kind of get started? You know that when I get rolling, Sutton, I don't want to steamroll. You have any initial remarks you'd like to share?
Yeah, I do. I just, I'm thankful for everybody to joining us today at Vanderbloemen. We're here to serve you, the church, the nonprofit organization, the Christian school. We're so wanting to help you save money. And I think today, I know when I was an executive pastor, this was one of my greatest worries is trying to understand and to provide the best benefits to my staff at the same time on being a really good steward of what God had given me. But John, when you started this podcast, you titled it something like, I can't remember, what did you title it?
Yeah, it's Ditch the 80s. That was the hook line that we used.
Yeah, and so as somebody that went to high school in the 80s, I think I just need to put my jacket on and represent the 80s here, because I don't want to ditch the 80s. Yeah. Best movies, best music, best everything happened in the 80s. So I'm not going to ditch the 80s, even though you called this Ditch the 80s.
Oh, I love it, Sutton. And you know what? I agree with you. I have a huge affinity for the 80s. I would say, though, when it comes to health benefits, a lot of churches are singing "Never Gonna Give You Up," never gonna let you
there you
down.
Go, little Depeche Mode. There we go.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you for that, Sutton. I was hoping you were gonna do that. I knew there was a chance, but thank you for setting us up. All right, so I want to set up the format of kind of what today's gonna look like. Just again, Krista, thanks for the intro, and Sutton, you're always a joy to have around. I'm going to just do a brief presentation, about 20 minutes or so, 20, 30 minutes. And then the back half of this is really intended for us to have a conversation with you in your context. Sutton is a wealth of knowledge and wisdom, and I'm a huge nerd, and I've been learning a ton of stuff. So we want to make sure and answer your questions. Feel free to use the Q&A feature on your Zoom. We all know how to do it now. That's a great way for Krista to kind of keep things organized. If you need to use the chat, that's fine. Krista is going to give us some of those questions at the end, so feel free to just send them throughout the presentation. But for now, let me get started with the beginning of this, and we'll make sure that y'all are out of here in about 55 minutes, that it's good with your time. And we're recording this right now, and so everything you're seeing today is also going to be in your inbox by the end of the day, so you can review it later. And are you guys ready to go? All right,
let's go. It.
Let's do this. So I want to share a little bit about my story here. And Sutton, you're seeing my slides, are you not? I just want to make sure.
Absolutely.
It's always awkward when you're like sharing slides and no one can see.
I got them.
So I was a pastor for over a decade. Before that, I was actually a missionary. When I was in my teenage years, my family moved to Brazil, South America. I lived on the Amazon. It was a wonderful experience serving people, really a ton of growth. It was very difficult. Moved back to the States, and I decided I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll go into business. So I started business school. God opened up some doors for me to go into full-time vocational ministry, actually. And so just, went and worked at one smaller church, and then worked at a bigger church, and then a bigger church, and got to experience a lot of what many of you are bringing in today, specifically around health benefits. I remember my first full-time job that I had health benefits. When I was on the mission field, I had no health insurance. As an older teenager, I kind of knew what that felt like, but I watched my dad bear the weight of our family not having protection for some sort of bad thing. Thankfully, we were very, very healthy, but I knew what that meant just kind of personally. But fast forward to, I was managing a budget. I had plans and dreams, and Sutton, all about, thinking. I think a lot of y'all are probably doing a lot of strategic planning. You have done some. You're looking to this end of year push for both your, Christmas services and your year-end giving. And there was this moment that we got pulled into an emergency budgeting meeting at a time of the year I knew something was wrong. And what had happened is it was about right around when everyone's rates were super spiking. It hasn't really slowed down much, but our health insurance doubled in cost. So it was this cost now twice as much. The church decided they could not put all of that onto the employees. I'm really grateful as a pastor. I had a family. I was grateful for that. But what they did is the church had to absorb that, and they cut all of our ministry budgets. So I had to just totally rethink what I was going to do. And fast forward in my tenure, that was such a horrible experience of having all these thoughts. My particular budget got cut by about 45%. So I got to do about, 45% less of what I wanted to. I was spinning off of full-time vocational ministry. It was great for me, but I did know that I wanted to go into business. It was going to be just a good position for me. I thought I was going to go into business from the beginning. And the founder of Remodel Health tracked me down in a parking lot. And he's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something. I know you like technology and you're a pastor. Like, can we talk?" And I thought I knew what he had done. I did not. He took me to Mexican food, and he shared a lot of the key details that we are going to be looking at today with me. Particularly, he told me how in Indiana, one of their really early goals was to save $1 million for churches here in Indiana. Indiana is my home. I love Indiana. And to know that there were pastors who were protected against the pain that I had felt for my ministry budget. That's what triggered me. So I started learning more, and I loved it. I never thought I was going to be in health insurance. I love technology, which is part of what we do, and I love that. But what I want today is to help you learn, kind of help you think outside the box, and equip you with the answers that you really will be asking. So Sutton and I sat down a while ago, and we were talking through a lot of the information that we have. And Sutton said, "Here are the 3 questions that an executive pastor, an HR director, leader of a church is going to ask." And Sutton, these are questions that you ask all the time. Both in terms of, the consulting that you do, and then just your own personal experience. And Sutton, for people who might be here today, who kind of know your particular background, tell me what you're bringing to the table as far as church experience and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, combined between my time of leadership here at Vanderbloemen and serving churches and Christian organizations at Vanderbloemen, I've been an executive pastor for 2 different churches. So I've got 10 years if you combine Vanderbloemen and my executive pastor role. And when you and I started talking about doing a webinar, these were the 3 questions I asked you, because the last thing that anybody wants to do is waste a bunch of time. So we've got people that are going to invest an hour with us. And I think that the three questions that everybody's going to ask is, can I save money?
Yep.
Is it better than what the status quo is right now? And is it worth the change? Yep. I mean, because let's face it, change is difficult, takes time, takes effort. And so is it worth it? And so I think if you can answer those three questions for people, they're going to walk out of here not only having these answers, but also having in their inbox this ebook that they can then take to leadership, share with others, and talk through and say, these are the three questions that we got answered. And here's backup data that you've done such a great job on. And so that's what I mean, if nothing else that you get from this, I hope that it opens folks' eyes to see that there is something else out there that you can save quite a bit of money on.
Yeah. Thank you, Sutton. I appreciate that. Health insurance is a very uncomfortable conversation. It's really complicated. It's awkward because a lot of times you're talking to an insurance person, they have a bad rap, and there's some really good reasons for that, some not so good reasons. Sutton, I know there are some people that are like, oh, well, I've got this, an elder in my church that does our insurance. I got this longtime member or a friend. And, my goal here is making sure you are not making blind decisions. And so that's what we're going to learn about today. And so let's, we're talking about the 80s. I've got a timeline here, Sutton. And
by the way, Krista was not born yet. Not even close. Not even close to being born yet. So yeah.
Okay.
So she doesn't know, but she can look back and look through old things and see that what Krista thinks that's vintage. To me and you, it's not vintage, but because we lived it.
That's right. No, I'm a big fan of the 80s. What I'm not a fan.
I feel like I need to come back and defend myself now.
No, you can't. No, I'm gonna put you on mute.
Oh, thanks, Chris. I saw your video pop up. I was like, she gonna say something. So
yeah.
All right. The 80s was great for a lot of things. In fact, one of the things that started happening sudden, just to kind of prove to your point that the 80s are awesome, was this thing called 401ks. Yep. Pension plans. If you don't know about them, maybe they're past your time, like they were happening a way long time ago. Read up on them and kind of what they were. The big idea, though, is that was like the staple of benefits that drew people. It's like, I'm going to work there for 40 years and then retire, right, and I'm getting a pension. Well, there was something that happened, and there's some key reasons behind this, but pension plans started making a dip right at the turn of 1980. They started dipping down. And let me give you a breakdown of what pension plans are. Pension plans were a group retirement benefit. What would happen is the employer would put money into this retirement fund. They would invest and choose all the investments. They would pick that product. Employees sometimes were, they would have to participate, or they could. And so you take some of the money, but the employer owned it all, made all the decisions. And the issue was it was very expensive. And then you're trying to do a one size fits all, because people that were pulling, so basically there's a big pile of money. When you retire from that big pile of money that you've been paying into, the company's been paying into, you'd get a check. And so if you're retired and you're getting your check, you don't want them really investing in a very strategic and maybe risky way. You want them to be very stable. Whereas these, younger workers are saying, hey, grow that pension plan. I'm young. I want to make sure it grows really good. So it's hard to keep everyone happy. Everyone had different needs, and the cost just became overwhelming. So a new model came out called 401ks in the church space. Obviously, this would be 403bs, but I'm just going to use the 401k term. And the concept was, hey, what if you take that money you're investing all for everybody, give that to the employee, let them own their own benefit, and let them choose how they're going to invest it. So then if you're a little bit older and you're close to retirement, you can be more conservative. If you're younger, just go all in and make some really good early decisions since you have the time. So this is what we saw starting in 1980, and it just, all the way now to today, it's just a minuscule amount. You'll see them around still, but compared to how many? Look at this trend line here, the little arrow, the trend line. Now look at this trend line. This data right here is the amount of traditional group health plans being offered by employers in the United States. We are seeing the same tick down of traditional group health plans that we saw pension plans back at 1980, and then they started dropping. The reasons behind less and less group plans. So what this is employers going to alternative methods or canceling it altogether. So traditional group, just so if you guys are wondering, that's going to be what y'all are probably just used to. The employer talks to a broker, kind of picks, the best plan that kind of fits for everybody. They put their money to that plan. An employee, if they want it, can, sometimes, and a lot of times in churches, they'll pay almost all of it, if not all of it, then they give it. The employee just gets the product, even if they want something different, they want to spend it different, they don't get it. They just get the plan. The employee then a lot of times and more has to pay, and they are. I mean, that's what I've seen time and time again. My own story as a pastor, that increase the next year, I had to end up paying quite a bit more. And Sutton, you felt this, right?
Yeah. Well, John, I always think of pension, and I think of the same way with group. It's the employer is trying to fit one size for everybody that's that's working for them, on their staff. And so, if you've got a diverse age group, you've got a diverse group of employees, you're trying to buy basically insurance that fits best for everybody. And as we all know, it doesn't work for everybody. Yeah. And so it's just the same thing as with pension plans. You didn't have any control over that. And as a result, you had to trust the company. And you didn't get to make any decisions. And you had a little company that went defunct called Enron in 2001. That, hey, they're not investing my money's all gone. And so this is now putting more opportunity in the hands of the employee, just like the 401k did.
Yeah, exactly. And appreciate, everything you said is right on, Sutton. We've been working together long enough that you could do this yourself. But so thanks for letting me be here too. Here's some of the problems with traditional group very specifically. So this is where you're going to start seeing a lot of the data in the ebook. You're going to have tons of resources. So feel free to just review it later. But right now, and there's a phrase here that I know you're very passionate about, Sutton, total compensation. So right now, 29.6%, it's the national average of total compensation spent on employee benefits. Because of this, it's being reported that around 98% of employers are saying we have to rethink how we have our benefits structured in order to be competitive in this labor shortage, in retaining and recruiting and retaining top talent. And then the actual cost per employee, national average, this is going to be the total cost. So a lot of times we split this cost up between employer and employee. 15 grand. So these are catastrophic numbers here. Sutton, talk about total compensation. You're an expert in this space. Talk about that number there.
So here, I want everybody to think about this. Okay. If we go back to the best study that was done is Leadership Network did a study in 2018. And it basically said that churches spend on payroll somewhere between 45% and 65%, and 52 was basically where they said this is the average. Okay, so let's say average 52%. Okay, think about this: 52%, if you do the calculation using this 29.6%, that basically says that of your total budget, your total church budget, 15% of it is benefits. 15% of that. Okay. So like if you were a part of like a church like ours, that I was a part of and currently a part of, the church itself tithes. So gives 10% of the dollars that are coming into the church, and they give it into outreach or give it to missions or something like that. They tithe on the tithe. Think about that. This is more than the tithe on the tithe. So this is a huge number. If you're in a church, this is a huge number of your budget. So if you can shave it 5, 6, 7%, it's a massive number for you on your ongoing basis. And so this is the real third question that we talked about. Is it worth the change? This is where I'm going to talk to you and say, it's worth the change when you look at this on an annual basis on what you're spending in your church.
Yeah. Thanks, Sutton. We can talk a lot about, being strategic with total compensation. I think right now, more than ever, we have to figure this out. Well, one of the problems with the cost, so there's going to be leaders out there that rightfully are thinking, yeah, but Sutton, this is perhaps just the cost of doing business because we have to keep our people safe. We have to take care of them. And I agree with that. The problem is that by not thinking about this and really looking at all the options, this is what those plans look like. So this is data from the Kaiser Family Foundation, and deductibles have just gone through the roof. So we're paying more and getting less. Sutton, you've hired a lot of people. I don't think you'd be very happy if you hired someone and you're paying them twice as much for them to do half the amount of work.
Right,
we don't do that with any of our vendors except for health insurance.
Right.
Harvard came out. They actually have 2 separate articles. I'm highlighting one here. Both are in the ebook. That is just a profound breakdown of this exact topic. It's exciting because, we've been doing this for years and years, but for someone like Harvard to really say, oh, this is a real thing, they're saying, give employees cash to purchase their own insurance. Okay. So that's a total change from give employees the benefit, give them the card, give them that insurance card. No, Harvard is saying it actually makes more sense for them and for you to look at this of giving them a budget instead of giving them a benefit. And so this is the change right now that we are seeing in the industry. I'm going to give you some details on the comparison. And this is, earlier this year, we took about 3 years worth of data and started breaking it down to look at this. Now, I want to make sure everyone is really clear. We are talking about insurance. There's a lot of options out there, direct primary care and sharing ministries and alternative plans and all that. What I'm talking about today is a group insurance plan and an individual insurance plan. They're both regulated the same way. Oftentimes they'll be the same carrier. They're going to have similar network structures to like insurance.
And we're talking about health insurance, right?
Say that again.
Health insurance. We're talking about health insurance. We're not talking about any other type of insurance. We're talking about specific health insurance.
That's a great, so yeah, major medical health insurance is what this is.
Yes.
And this is what would replace your classic, Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. You got your card. That's a group plan. And then in a lot of states, Blue Cross Blue Shield manage individual. All right. So let's look at the comparison. We've kind of talked about this, so I won't belabor it. But in a pension group, what you're going to see here is you're going to see the plan is offered by the employer. The money stays with the company. The organization selects and invests, and then the organization chooses. The 401k flips the script, same as managed individual. There's a contribution that is given, a budget that's given to the employee, but then that money is owned by the employee for the employee to select and invest or spend. I like to think of health insurance being an investment. It can be, but they choose. And in doing so, we've actually found it's a much more satisfying and competitive benefit. And that's it's an absolute parallel. A lot of times people get nervous on new things sudden, and I think rightly so. You want to make sure that it has stood the test of time. There's legs behind it. This particular solution has been around since before 2015. So this is not just showed up after the pandemic. This has been gaining traction, so much so that the Department of Labor is suggesting 800,000 employers over the next 3 to 5 years will leave traditional group to go to a managed individual style. And there's a couple different ways to do managed individual, but the big idea is the pension plan style, that traditional group, is dying, so much so the Department of Labor is making sure people know about it. Yep. And they're saying, hey, be ready. Don't keep getting stuck behind all this. So all of this data is why we dove in to 129,000 of our own data points. We really did a thorough job. I mean, I've seen the spreadsheets. I love this kind of stuff, Sutton. But what I love more is giving meaningful information to help inspire people to rethink. So here's all the sources. Again, it's all going to be in the ebook for you guys, so I don't need to talk about that. But Sutton, here's the first question. What's the first thing that you asked me?
Can we save money?
Can you save money? If you can save money, why is it worth it? Why would you ever do it?
I have things that I would rather spend as an executive pastor, or as somebody that's leading a Christian school, or somebody that's leading a nonprofit. I have other things, ministry things, that I would like to spend. I want to give the benefit, the most benefit that I can to the staff members with their insurance, but I don't want to overspend a dime, because I need that money for ministry.
Yeah, exactly. And I always like to advocate for the pastors that are thinking for their people. I just want you to know right now, the goal here, remember in the title of this, is improve coverage by with saving money. So we're not looking at decreasing coverage by saving you money. So the first thing that we compared is the aggregate national average, just combining things together, of what is the average monthly cost for a group plan versus the average cost of a managed individual plan. Again, remember, these are benchmark plans, health insurance, real insurance. And so this is what the costs are looking at. Sudden, when I look at this, I'm like, wait a second. I've never seen insurance costs go down. Why are those averages going down? Obviously, we know that they're going up. 2018, 19, 20, the 21 numbers were great as well. 22 numbers are looking good, but this was like a really good sample size for us to just highlight that kind of separation that we're seeing. Here's why the cost of those individual insurance products are going down. As I mentioned, they're all being regulated, and there are regulations that insurance companies can only charge premiums in a certain threshold against the actual claims and usage. Let me simplify it. People that are on that insurance plan, if they're not going to the doctor, then they're not charging anything, and the insurance isn't paying anything out. Insurance can't just keep charging you more. And so Sudden, what were we doing in 2020? And here's a hint: not going to the doctor. Yep. We were all at home. We're all at home. And so there's elective surgeries, or people that probably should have gone to the doctor that didn't need to because they couldn't, they didn't want to, whatever the reason might be. There were very few claims in 2020. So that's one reason. But here's another reason. More people now than ever are enrolled in these plans from state to state to state. There's more carriers now than there were. Just everyone, kind of worries. They're saying, oh, but aren't carriers leaving? No, more carriers are jumping on board because there are more people signing up for individual plans. which means insurance companies are going to be able to make more money. Side note, Sutton, they have better loss ratios and better profit margins as well on individual products. Here is a simple principle.
If you notice,
go ahead.
if you notice, John, right there, that Texas is one of the states that has, where I am today, as where we have these plans growing. And I don't know if anybody realized that, but that A&M beat Alabama just a couple of days ago. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody noted that. And that's also on our slide here. So
I appreciate that, Sutton. I was cheering for your team, Sutton, for sure.
Thank you.
Here's something else that's really important to understand is that the price of these individual plans is community rated. So that means the more people that sign up, they're all part of this big community. That's really good for insurance, and it's going to make it go down. Here's another great thing. And I love this, Sutton. Individual plans. Sometimes people are worried, oh, well, I'm going to get charged more because I've got, this, or I have a really big struggle with my health because of this. You don't get charged more for pre-existing conditions with individual plans. Everyone gets covered. You're going to pay the same price as someone that's, basically your equivalent. And prices do vary based on age and all these different things, but everyone gets covered, no surcharges. It's guaranteed issue. We're really grateful for that. So here's our second question, Sutton. We promised them we're going to answer all these.
Let's do it. Is it better than the status quo? And the status quo is basically whatever the organization is doing right now.
Yeah. I want to frame up the status quo a little bit, Sutton. It's important to kind of define terms. Yep. All right. If we were going to talk about the status quo of deductibles, we already saw the deductibles have gone up over 200%. Okay. Deductibles are not good on the status quo. Costs. We've already seen that costs are going up. Okay, that's not good either. Something I like to highlight as the status quo is going to be how much do employees have to pay? Now, this is going to vary from church to church, school to school, nonprofit to nonprofit, business to business. But most of the time, because it costs so much, employees are going to have to pay something. And here is what we actually found. On average, the national average for traditional group, an employee per year, this is the total yearly amount, they're going to pay $3,400 here in 2021. Now, y'all are going to notice that those costs went down. Again, that reflects the exact thing that I said in 2020. And even in 2021, we haven't really gone to the doctor very much yet. We're just now ramping things back up. That's why they both dipped, but proportionally, look at managed individual. On average, nationally, employers that are doing managed individual, this 401k style, their employees for equivalent coverage pay less. And so, Sutton, for me, I was not at a church that paid for all of my health insurance. And I was grateful to have it. As I mentioned, I know it feels like to be uninsured, but the thought of having to pay less, having to pay half, that's a raise for me. I mean, on average, if you're on a pastor's salary, spending $3,000 a year for your family to have insurance coverage, I'm just speaking for myself. That's a lot of money. If I can put more money into my own pocket as an employee, that feels good. Sutton, speaking to the way you've seen benefits structured and everything.
So, I do at least 5 or 6 compensation analysis a week for churches, and we talk about benefits a lot. And one of the things that I talk to pastors on, because they're focused on retaining their staff right now. It's so many people are changing jobs and they're trying to hold on to their people. And the one thing that they would love to do, a lot of churches that are only covering health insurance of the staff member, or maybe it's just the staff member or the spouse, they really want to cover the whole family. And so I think a lot of churches, what they will do is they're going to probably keep spending the same amount, but they're going to go, oh, this is awesome. It's not going to cost as much. And now I can go from just providing health insurance for the staff member. I can cover their entire family health costs, and which is a great benefit. A lot of places aren't able to do that, and it's a great way of retaining staff. So, you know, to me, I look at it that way. This is a great opportunity to retain and to provide even better benefits to your staff.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you. So something that people are probably going to be asking, if you're anything like me, all right, but like, how are you getting it this cheap? How are the plans this cheap? This is something, it's honestly really simple. Obviously we could complicate it. I want to make sure this is meaningful for you. Yep. So you all know child tax credits. I got kiddos of my own. I have a kid. And so because I have a kid, I get a tax credit. That's the way it works. Tax credit is money from the IRS to me. Okay. Credits to me. The advanced premium tax credit, if you have an individual insurance plan. Okay. If you have an individual insurance plan, you get an advanced premium tax credit. What's nice about it is it actually pays toward the insurance on your behalf. So you don't have to worry. It's not like at the end of the year, it actually gets paid, you know, throughout the entire like month to month. So it's really simple for you. But here's the big deal. It's not available if the employer is offering a traditional group health plan or even a Hcas or an HRA. These tax credits are not available. And so, you know, that means that as a leader, you're leaving money on the table to discount insurance plans simply because you're stuck in that pension plan style of health benefits. And so if you were wondering how, you know, what's another way, here's another thing too. These tax credits are on top of, you remember that kind of V where the group was going up and the individual was going down. This is on top of that. And that's one of the big ways. Sutton, I see you wanting to say something.
Yeah, I think, John, that this is a different environment now with churches, nonprofits, and Christian schools, because they have seen, whether they took it or not, they have seen Christian organizations take the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, and were benefited by that. And I think in the past, Christian organizations were very leery of taking any type of tax credit or any type of government funding because they felt like the government was then going to be able to come into their business. I think now on the other side of this pandemic, there's something that's changed in Christian organizations, and they're looking at it like, holy cow, if we hadn't have gotten the PPP, we wouldn't have been able to pay for our staff. We wouldn't have been able to do this. So I think that this is going to help in the people that are listening to this, like, okay, I'm not scared of government tax credits anymore because we benefited by the PPP, or I know somebody who benefited by the PPP and they really helped them out during that time period.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Sutton. You know, we've been, as pastors, taking housing allowance for a long time. And that's a tax incentive right there. And if you're a pastor that's not taking advantage of the housing allowance, you definitely want to talk to your tax professional, because it can definitely be a benefit to you. All right. Question 3, and then we're going to get to their questions here. Here's the last question you asked me, Sutton.
Is it worth the change? I mean, it's going to cause me some difficult. I got to work. I got to do extra work. if I'm a administrator at a church or a nonprofit, and is it worth the change?
Yeah, I appreciate that question again. Your commentary is helpful because we need to ask this. Okay, maybe it saves you money. Maybe it is better than the status quo. We've all been through a lot over the past 18 months of just an incredible spectrum of experiences. And so I do want to make sure all of the leaders out there right now listening to this or watching the recording, I don't know what your team can tolerate right now, but I will tell you that that's your side of the scale. I don't know what's on your side of the scale, but I do want to show you this side of the scale. And so in the years that we've been working through, so this is a brand new group. And for some of you that might be wondering, like, if, maybe you've heard about Manage Individual and maybe you've looked at it. I'm just going to tell you, these are the real results that we're seeing. This is a real group right now. This organization here, 21 employees, their old cost, $350,000, $350,000 for this staff at 21. They did not have any of the tax credit discounts. It was the same coverage. We moved them over to managed individual. They're able to get, 21 employees. They all qualify for tax credits, and they're saving $146,000 for a staff of 21. That's a game changer on both sides of the conversation, Sutton. So, you kind of mentioned PPP came in and helped in a really hard time. If you are looking and saying, hey, this has been a difficult year for us, we need to turn the corner and get out of the red and get into the black and make sure and save some money, it can do that. But I would also say this, I've heard a lot of wonderful stories that there's been something special that's happened in your church family and you're growing. And the only way you can continue to grow is by having more resources. And so this is another great way on both sides to help you with your pain or lead you into the future. Go ahead, Sutton.
So, and I want people to hear this. Okay. This is 21 employees, okay, on their staff. Typical churches aren't that big. Okay. I talk to churches all the time doing compensation analysis for their church, and they typically might have 1 or 2 staff members. And every time when I ask them, how come you're not offering health insurance? They say, well, we only have a staff of 1 or 2. And so we can't get health insurance. Let me tell you, like, I have sent so many people with very few staff members to Remodel Health that they have gotten them and been able to buy health insurance with them. And so don't just, well, that church is too, that we don't have 21 employees, so it doesn't affect. So hear me, like, it doesn't matter if you have 1 or you have 21 or you have 210. It doesn't matter the size, because if you think about it, it's a percentage of your budget. So it doesn't matter if you have a small budget or a really big budget. It's that same percentage that you're fighting for to be a good steward of.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yes, you nailed it, Sutton. We've got really, really large enterprise size clients, and we've got your average church size clients and everything in between. And that is what we're here to do. These solutions are out there and available. The question is posed, is it worth the change? And this is the question that I, answer a question with a question. Do you want more or less in your budget? That's just the reality. We have seen, since we started helping move away from the pension plan style into managed individual, $65 million go back into ministry budgets. $65 million saved while getting better benefits. And so I want you to just kind of let that sink in there, that millions of dollars are already being saved, and the opportunity is there. I don't know what's on your side of the scale. I do know what's on our side of the scale, and that me and Sutton have been, trying to share with you. Sutton, I'm going to give them just a quick CTA, and then we're going to go to questions. Chris,
because you've got some amazing questions. I'm watching them. You've got some really good questions. So let's save as much time as we can.
I'm excited. So here is the one thing I'm going to leave with you before we get into questions. Okay. We have specifically built out the tool for you to very easily be able to compare traditional to managed individual. It's risk-free. It's very easy for you, because if you're going to transition into this, you need to be able to see it ahead of time. And so we've built this out. I want to make sure that all of you have a 50% discount on our analysis. Okay. We're a turnkey health benefits solution, but the thing that we realize that we can just serve the church with is just say, hey, we can just at least give you the analysis of what it could look like. Okay. And so just email hello@remodelhealth.com if you're interested in this. You can mention Vander50. I'm going to email this to y'all as well. We charge $17.50 an employee. So if you have 10 employees, you know how much it costs right now. What we do is this whole ebook and national analysis we've done, we just do for you. for you and your team. We know that blind decisions are bad decisions. We want to help you be able to actually see all the options. If you're not running this analysis, you're not going to be able to see all your options. We've specifically built it like that, and really grateful again to have a partner with Vanderbloemen and be able to offer that 50% discount. So I'll email this again, but hello@remodelhealth.com. Just email us, and we want to make sure and get you hooked up before the end of the year. So Krista, what do we have for questions?
Yes, well, we got a lot of really great questions, like Sutton was saying. But first, just to clarify, we have viewers from all over the US, even a couple different countries, it's looking like. And so a lot of people are wanting to know where all can they get this if they live in different states or even countries.
Yeah, that is great. This is for Christian employers in the United States. That's our goal, ditching those pension plans from the 1980s and bringing in the 1980s solution of the 401k. There are a couple states that we are still developing, and so I don't need to get into that specific stuff right now because there's a couple different ones, a couple different reasons. But in general, we've got nationwide we're serving churches, and at the very least, I'd love to chat with those people if they're really interested, because even if we're not fully developed there yet, I can still talk with them, encourage them, give them advice and all of that. So don't let that be a deterrent from you at least connecting with me. I'd still love to just help you, even if you don't become a customer.
That's great. Kind of next question. We're getting a lot of questions of people curious about ACA coverage and kind of how this falls in. They're wanting just clarification on walking through that. One question specifically is kind of how you can determine overall savings if there's a potential ACA penalty. We're getting a lot of questions along these lines. If you want to talk into that.
Yeah, and that's an educated question right there.
Yeah.
So I appreciate whoever sent that in. The first thing that's important to understand is just the way the IRS actually organizes large employers that's over 50. It's not called a penalty anywhere in there. It's actually, there's a different kind of structure where they can charge you, and it gets pretty complicated. The big deal is this: in our software, we run all those calculations. So we figure out what is the IRS charging and all these different, all the costs all together. Again, it's not a penalty, but there are some different IRS charges and stuff. We calculate that in our software. It's part of what makes us special. So yes, we definitely serve ALEs. Everybody's compliant, of course. But yeah, that's a great question.
Great. And then also on that one slide you had about the savings, we're getting a couple questions on that. One on if the savings is for employee or for the organization. And then secondly is a question asking if you are including potential tax credits into that savings number.
Yeah, definitely going to account for the tax credits. That's also built into the software. When it comes to who gets the savings, that's going to be up to the strategy of the admin making the decision. So our consultants, once we run that health benefits analysis that I just kind of shared y'all with, if you want to actually think about starting it, then we would go through a lot of different strategy options for you to decide. Sometimes organizations they're like, hey, we're just going to let our employees keep paying the same amount. We really got to save some for the organization. And that's fine. You should never feel bad about that. Other times they want to give the savings to the employees. And, it's always going to be different depending on what you need.
So I'm going to ask a question because I'm seeing one come up. So talk about the coverage. Okay. So let's say that I have Blue Cross and Blue Shield, or I have one of the other coverage right now, and I'm able to use my doctor and these types of things. Is this separate? Is this substandard health insurance because it's cheaper? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, definitely not substandard. It's all going to be regulated under. So traditional group plans and individual insurance plans are all ACA plans. So sometimes people think ACA plans are just the individual ones. That's not true. All health insurance is regulated by the Affordable Care Act. So it requires the minimum essential coverage, all of the, your standard things that you're used to getting for free, screenings and vaccinations and all those sorts of things. Now, so that's just kind of your baseline. Now let's talk about deductibles and copays and coinsurances. those are all regulated as well. There are different thresholds that are required in order for you to be called health insurance, like I'm calling it. There are expectations that are going to be exactly the same on both sides. Now, deductible level, copay level, all of that. Here's and I didn't put it in the presentation just simply because we're talking about a lot today, but since it's a question, if you're able to save a ton of money, what you can do as an employer is turn those into medical dollars for your people. Okay.
Right.
I'm using the term medical dollars because it's kind of general, whether it's a health savings account or a health reimbursement range or anything like that. But just the idea, help your people get insurance, then take some of your savings, give them medical dollars. Now they're actually able to have a lower out-of-pocket cost. So that's a little bit of the trick that we do. And that's how we've been able to improve coverage, making sure that, mama's got money when she needs to go to the pediatrician, that now the church is able to give her medical dollars. Whereas before she was having to pay a copay. Now she doesn't have to worry about it.
So do you all, another question, do you all offer vision and dental?
Yeah, vision and dental right now, when it comes to the managed individual space, it's about the same for managed individual and traditional group when it comes to dental and vision. What I will say is we just did an analysis on that, on ancillary products is what that would be categorized as. We've got a bunch of great insights on what ancillaries you should invest in, you should not. But yeah, we take care of that. Most of the time, people are just really bothered by medical, and we try to solve that first.
Right. But they're thinking, I think what if I can think through from an executive pastor, I go to this person right now that provides group insurance, but then they also they set us up with dental, they set us up with vision. So if I'm going to move away from the person that's providing my group insurance to you, are you going to be able to handle those other things as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're a turnkey health benefits solution of all health benefits, dental, vision, life, term, all those sorts of things. So yeah, we can take care of all that. We would actually love that. We love being able to make sure that you have a one-stop shop to be able to help your people.
Great. Someone is asking if this is available for an individual, for example, maybe a senior pastor at a smaller church, or if it's group only.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure what that senior pastor is doing right now. What I will tell you is this, for that senior pastor that asked that question, just email me and I'll talk with you. We don't actually bring on customers that are single pastors, but I can point you in the right direction to help yourself because it's going to be just more cost effective for you. Very happy, zero charge. I'll point you in the right direction and help you out for sure.
Great. Another one, this is a specific one. Someone's asking, how does this affect employees who currently have a high deductible medical plan with HSAs, sorry.
Yeah, great.
Will they still have this option?
Yeah, I love HSAs, and you can actually maintain that exact same structure. It's one of my favorite strategies. So yeah, those are available.
Okay, so define for the people that aren't what HSA is.
I will do my best to do it in a way that I know you want me to.
Or what it stands for. Yeah, what it
Health
stands for.
Savings Account. And if you're a part of a particular style of health benefit, there's a couple key IRS details. Of course, the IRS is regulating everything. You can open up a savings account that lets you put money in pre-tax and save up money for medical bills. And so if people are, the reason why they're asking Sutton is because they're like, hey, I've already got a bunch of money saved up in my health savings account. If I do this, do I lose all that? And the answer is absolutely no.
Good.
Great. Someone else is kind of another scenario I'm going to read out to you, John. Someone said, we currently just stipend our employees and they're responsible for their own health plans and coverage. Some are on traditional insurance plans and some are on health sharing programs. Is the HBA able to figure a comparison analysis since we don't have a group plan to compare against?
Yeah, absolutely. We love that. Obviously, we would need to know as much as the employer does know, to give you as thorough of a response as possible. But yeah, that's a very normal sort of thing. And congratulations on stepping away from traditional group. You're heading in the right direction. The HBA will just see, is there a way to enhance your team's experience? Make sure that they're in the plans they should be, those sorts of things. So yeah, we can absolutely do that with the health benefits analysis. And I also like that people are already calling it an HBA. That's great. Like we call it that, but like not everyone even knows that. So that's awesome.
Right. Another one, this was asked, and I think you touched on this earlier, Sutton, but someone was asking, they only have 3 full-time staff members. Is this still beneficial?
Oh yeah, Sutton has actually sent me over groups that we've been able to help big time, especially if you're in a traditional group plan right now with only 3 people. You're spending a lot of money. Now, if you're trying to be more strategic and step into health benefits for the first time, making sure that, hey, we're going to grow our staff from 3 to 6 this next year. And when we're hiring, people are asking, this style, the managed individual, is your best first step into health benefits, because you can kind of ramp up. It's not, just get yourself slammed with this huge bill. You can really ramp up nicely with managed individual if it's your first step in.
Yeah, most people think, it's actually true based upon cost, that if you have a very small staff, 1 or 2 people, 3 people, you can't get, or you can't afford insurance. Well, that's true if it's group insurance, but on this managed individual, you totally are able to get some good insurance. And again, super important on retention. So if you're a small church and you're trying to hang on to your staff during this time of turnover, this is a great thing to look at. And the way that we've been able to provide this with you, to where you can contact remodel, there's no strings attached. Like, you get the information back from them. If you want to stay with your current carrier, great. It doesn't, like, I have had so many people like, well, if we send our information to them, and do we have to go? No, you don't have to go. You just get a comparison. You're literally shopping for the best thing and the best insurance and the best cost for your staff. And so no strings attached. You don't have to tell your existing person or anything like that, because I know there's a lot of relationships typically with somebody that's a group provider that's in your church. And I was in that situation as an executive pastor. And so I know the thing that you're walking through, but I just want to encourage you from a stewardship standpoint, at least see what Remodel Health can do with this new, with this independent program.
Yeah. And so, I've worked with elders that were on the decision team, kind of. It wasn't a conflict of interest, but they were also the broker. And I've had conversations, and I've heard them say out of their own mouth, hey, you know what? I've loved being able to serve you as long as I have, but I cannot, in right conscience, sit here and not let you take advantage of this savings here, just simply because maybe it's a little bit of, income out of my pocket. They understand how much pain this has caused and the opportunity here. And so I'm just, trust your people, that if you do have a relationship with someone, even bring them on board, but they have your best interest out there. They want to make sure that you get taken care of. And that's what the analysis is for. Just like Sutton is saying, it's risk-free. Do the analysis, see where you're at. If you're interested, then obviously we can talk more after that.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
So as we're slowly running out of time, we'll just take a couple more. Someone was asking, as they're looking into reviewing health insurance options for this next year, how long does it take for this analysis?
Yeah, that's great. It's a really simple process. You send over a census, and you send, especially if you're doing a traditional group right now, send us your plan, your census of your people, and then we'll run it and we'll make sure and pop out that. I don't know what our exact turnaround time is. We're in busy season, which is why I'd like you to get on it right now. But I'd imagine we can get this done in about a week. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying that, but everything that I've seen, this is a really fast process. That's why we have software. So if any of my, consultants are watching right now, I am sorry if I've just promised that a week turnaround, but it should be within a week. You got to have your answers. And I'm telling you right now too, you got my email. I'm going to send it to you. If you have any problems, like I'll push hard for you and we'll get you taken care of. Don't worry about timing.
And most of the information that they need, if you outsource your payroll, it's super easy to print their information out or PDF it and send it to them. I mean, like, we're not talking about a process that takes a long time for you to gather the information to submit to them. It's very easy if you're using Paylocity or Paychecks or whatever you're using. It depends, or if you have an internal HR person, it's going to be super easy for them to pull this information together and submit it.
Yeah.
Great. I think we are just about out of time.
Awesome.
So I'm going to let you wrap us up, John.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Krista. Thank you, Sutton. Here's the information here again. The particular promo here, it's not like the coming up Friday, it's the next Friday, because we want to give you guys a little bit of time and everything. I'm going to send you an email today before I leave the office. I'm going to make sure you get a recording of this video. I'm going to make sure that you get the PDF of our brand new ebook. Super excited about it. And then you'll have all of my contact information. And so I really would love to see each and every one of you get one of these national health benefits analysis of your own group, your own team. And Sutton, Krista, thank you for having me on board with this conversation. Y'all are just amazing. It's a joy to partner with you.
I loved it. And remember, don't ditch the 80s. Don't ditch the 80s.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Hey, thank you, everybody. We're grateful for your time, and we will talk to you soon. We'll talk to you soon. Keep an eye out for your email. Thanks. See y'all. Bye.